I always wanted an equivalent of 50mm for my street photography. So I decided to go for a 35mm 1.4 for my Fujifilm camera, which are APS-C of course. But I saw they had a 35mm 1.4 and a newer 33mm 1.4. So it sparked my interest and I was curious to see what the difference is between those two. If you have the same problem and you can't decide which one to buy, then this is the right video for you. Right off the bat, I think price is the most important factor here. The newer 33mm 1.4 comes in at a retail price of $799 and the older 35mm 1.4 now is $599. The 35mm was released in 2012, which is now almost 12 years ago, which is crazy to think. And the newer 33mm was released in 2021. Hence the price difference. But now let's take a closer look at these two so you can decide whether it's worth it to spend the 200 extra bucks for this one. The 33mm has a length of 74mm. Meanwhile, the 35mm has a length of 55mm. The 33's filter thread has a diameter of 58mm and the older one 52. The 33 weighs 360 grams and the 35 weighs 187. So if size and weight is an important factor to you, then 35mm wins this one. The 33mm is a lot newer, so I think it's out of the question that the autofocus will be improved massively. It has been more optimized for the newer Fujifilm cameras like the X-T5 for example, which I reviewed earlier on this channel. Go check that out if you haven't done it already. You notice a big difference in sound. The 33 makes just no sound at all, whether the 35 makes quite a bit of noise when trying to focus. Let me say that after running a few tests, I was quite impressed how the 35 performs next to the 33 when it comes to autofocus. There might be a slight difference, but it's not very noticeable on the first look. The only big factor here is the noise the 35mm makes, which can be quite annoying if you're shooting video, for example. Also, it protrudes while it tries to maintain the focus, whether in the 33 everything stays inside. Because the 33mm is more heavier, it automatically feels more solid. The aperture ring feels of better quality, and next to that you have this safety button right here that you have to press before you go into automatic aperture mode. The 35mm is a lot older and smaller, and this aperture ring has been turned already thousands of times, so it wouldn't be very honest to compare these two models I have in my hand. But honestly, if this lens has been older than 10 years old and it still works perfectly fine, this means the build quality is insane and I wouldn't expect any less from the newest 33mm. If weather sealing is a requirement for you, then go ahead and purchase the 33mm 1.4. The 35 is not weather sealed, so that's a case closed. But if you don't really care about that and just don't go shooting in the rain, then the 35mm will be just fine. Now when comparing these two, I can confidently say that the 33mm is more sharper. Also the bokeh at 1.4 is definitely more creamy than the 35, but on the other hand, if you enjoy a more filmic look, then the 35 is for you. Not everyone enjoys a clean and sharp image. Some are really looking for those characteristics. So it really depends on your personal preference and I can't make that decision for you. If you are a hybrid shooter, which means you shoot photo and video, then the 33mm is for you. I shot some B-roll in the UK with the 33mm and I was quite impressed with both autofocus and manual focus. The focusing ring is big, which makes pulling focus an absolute breeze. Comparing this to the noisy 35mm, I wouldn't recommend this one for a shooting video. So now that I give you some material to work with, to make a decision on your own personal preferences. I will not give you the answer which lens is the best for you, because everyone's opinion is different. For example, if I were a street photographer only, I probably would go with the 35mm because it's so light and compact. Also the characteristics are very interesting, which makes this lens kind of special. But as both a video and photo shooter, I'm leaning more towards the 33mm. I like the sharpness it gives me, and I think my professional clients would appreciate this. Also the bokeh looks really nice, so I'm leaning more towards this one. If you have any more questions or suggestions for this video, then leave them down below in the comments. And thank you for stopping by, my friend. We'll see each other in the next video. Bye bye.